Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff.
Hey, I'm Jeanette.
I'm Eve.
I'm Bethany.
Tiffany.
And tonight we are talking about the 911 and 911 Lone Star finales, which I think is crazy. Like, it doesn't feel like it should be finale time yet.
Didn't we just get, didn't the Lone Star just start?
That's what I feel like, right?
And half of their season was that stupid ice storm. So I feel like we've been cheated out of a decent season.
And then 911, there was such a break that I feel like it just came back and now it's gone again.
Yes, they're taking too long of a break between
Yeah.
the winter finale and I guess what the spring.
I know.
Like we need. It used to come back in January. I think the past 2 seasons, it's been. I was hoping it was just a COVID thing that their schedules just wasn't the filming schedule was off. So maybe we'll get back into the groove of things, but we need more.
We do.
Back in January. Yeah.
But yeah, this so for the 911 finale is called Starting Over, and we start out with Bobby, and poor guy's still really struggling just about Jonah and feeling guilty for the fact that he let him in his house, which I hate that he's taking so much of that on himself, because I mean, how could you know, but he's having a hard time with it for sure.
I was very, very scared for him. I don't know who else was I don't think I've ever been more nervous in the entire episode. And it was mostly Bobby. I was like, he's gonna slip. This is going to be terrible. I can't do a Bobby spiral.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so, because I mean, even Bobby back when he had his issues back in the very first season, he's still always been so cool and collected and just always kind of at least seems to have it together. But when he cut his hand with that glass, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, and then just, covered it up and, told May he just dropped it or whatever he said he did. And I was worried about him for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, it was very obvious, and obviously May picked up on it too, but it was hard to see him starting. And that's not the first time that he's doubted himself, even was it last season where that woman, crashed her car because she was an alcoholic, and that could have been him, and he was thinking, I think he went back to a meeting, or he started going to meetings again because of that, so it wasn't the first time we've seen that start to happen, so it's easy to pick up on,
Yeah. But then, Eddie to the rescue comes and gives him a pep talk, and I loved that. I like their relationship a whole lot.
I loved that Eddie was finally in a position where he saved Bobby's life. I'm no doubt about it. It was pretty, full circle that Eddie was the one who was able to save him, given the rough time he's been going through lately.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think it was super appropriate, that it was Eddie, and here it was definitely a resolution to the last time Eddie came to visit. I like how he started out kind of funny, hey, I promise I don't have transfer paperwork with me, So last time it was Bobby, trying to put Eddie back on his feet, even it was in a tough situation. But yeah, it was very full circle and very sentimental to see that.
And then, of course, we were right about Buck and Taylor.
Yes, absolutely. That happened fast. It was pretty easy to see that one coming. I honestly, personally thought they were going to kind of draw that out a little bit more. The whole Taylor, Lucy, I thought that was something that they were going to keep, but obviously the decision was easy after what Taylor did. That kind of thrusted the decision to actually happen. And it was pretty cool. I love the way he did that. He's all like, I think we should start over too with other people, not together. Whoa.
Yeah. And it was such a mature breakup. I was actually really proud of that. Even Taylor handled herself well.
I was very proud of Buck. I was like, wow, he has really grown as a human being since, episode 1.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And everybody's pulling for Buck, so it was cool to like see that, stand
Mhm,
up for himself, just
mhm.
be mature in this situation. And it definitely felt like my little boy's all grown up now.
I know.
Oh, and then yeah, it's just crazy to see
How
that.
how funny was that conversation in the fire truck where they're all discussing and he's like, they said it about him sleeping with like Lucy like in front of Bobby, and then Bobby's like, wait, when did you do that? I don't know. I just found that scene to be really amusing.
And I think that kind of even compounded like Bobby's, mindset too, is like Jonah's happening in my watch, what else is happening, it wasn't very good for him. He
I
started,
know.
what's going on here,
Mhm.
And then, of course, speaking of another couple, we've got Chim and Maddie, having a special lunch date, and Chim seems kind of nervous to meet with them and maybe jumps the gun a little bit at what the conversation was going to be about at their lunch date, which he probably should not have done.
That was such an
It's so
awkward
funny.
conversation because I
Crazy.
feel like they were prepared. They're obviously preparing for two very different conversations.
I'm not really sure where Tim got that from, like why he even thought that.
I think he
Well,
got
what
it from. I think he got it from his brother because
Yeah.
when he got home, and he told his brother, "Well, as it turns out, she doesn't want to date other people. It just turn back to work." I was like, "Of course he got it from his brother. He needs to stop listening to."
I thought I missed something. When he went back to talk to
Yeah.
Albert, I was like, did this conversation happen earlier? And did I totally like skip that part of the episode? But I guess not. So
No, I think they were just trying to give us the impression that they'd been talking before off camera, and that's what Albert thought that the meeting would be like. But he needs to stop listening to Albert because I can count on one finger the number of times he's probably given good advice.
right.
I was going to say
Aw.
one hand, but I was like, he has not given 5 pieces of good advice.
It's
So
too generous.
Poor Albert.
I love him, but bless his little
Yeah.
soul, he just does not give good advice.
Yeah.
Catch when he was looking at the career aptitude test results. So, have you guys ever heard of or seen a show called The Librarians? So,
I've heard of it.
it was on TNT. It's a show called The Librarians. It's basically supposed to be like a knockoff of Doctor Who, but not really.
Mhm.
It's like all of the characteristics are there, but the plot's a little different. But they're basically a group of librarians that are superheroes through space and time. And of course, Albert was one of the main characters, so he was a librarian. So like saying he's a librarian is like saying he's like a Power Ranger, or saying like he's a superhero,
Yeah.
librarian. So it was so funny because I was like, archaeologist, librarian, and it's like, oh, they did that on purpose. Like,
Oh, I didn't catch that, but I bet they did do it on purpose.
yeah.
Then.
So it's like if Chim were to be on another show and they're like, oh, look, here's firefighter would be like a good career opportunity for him, and he's like a
Mhm.
doctor or something, like it was hilarious. I was like, yeah, it was an amazing callback to that show. So
That's funny.
it was
I
pretty
love that he could possibly become a cosmetologist.
I know. That sounds interesting. Seems like those career choices were all over the place. Like,
That was a real hodgepodge list
What-
of career
what kind of-
choices.
yeah, what kind of answers did you give to get that sort of variety? It was strange.
Is that like a plot point? Is that meaning that the future is that wide open that it could go anywhere?
Maybe.
He
That
has
was interesting.
he has many talents. He could do
Apparently.
anything.
Just not firefighting, right?
It's
So,
funny though. I wonder if like maybe the reason why Chim like jumped to that. I mean, obviously they had that conversation, but I wonder if it was almost like he was just afraid, like it was going to be too painful of a thought, so he was just going to own it, and
mhm.
like he was fearful that that's what she was going to say, so it's like rip the band-aid. I don't know. Maybe that's what he was.
Yeah, I think so.
Save himself from having to have her tell that to him by saying it first.
But it was kind of good that he got it messed up because it gave him the chance to have this conversation and realize that neither one of them are ready to date again, which makes me happy because that makes me think that you're not ready to date again because you belong together. and you're gonna have to find your way back to each other.
I think they will.
You know,
And
especially
I like that she was ready to go back to work too.
Yeah,
She's great at her job.
yeah. Which we
They
kind
need
of
her there.
knew that was gonna happen because I mean, with May leaving, we've got to have a main character like taking the calls, and so we
absolutely,
needed her to do that.
it's like everything is as it should be again. You know, she's ready to resume. May's stepping away, and it just all the cards are starting to fall in place. Like even the call center, it's supposed to be ready by September, so it's like, you know, that's when the new season starts.
When
So,
we'll be back.
Yeah, this episode just felt very comfortable.
Mhm.
Like if you know what I mean. Like just everything was happening the way it should be. It was very familiar. Like Maddie's back at work. She belongs there.
Yeah.
Hopefully she gets back with Chim. They belong together.
Mhm.
And
I
we'll get
think-
into Eddie a little bit later towards the end of this. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's because I really think it's because they didn't know if they were going to be renewed, so they wanted to just tie everything up nicely, which I appreciate because I hate when shows are unsure about their future and they still leave you on a cliffhanger and then you never get to know what happened.
yeah, that's horrible.
It's true. But then on the other hand, they didn't leave us with anything to look forward to next season.
Well, I mean,
Hopefully good thing.
Eddie's back at the fire station. That's plenty to look forward to.
that's the thing. Like I cheered. We'll talk more about that, you know, but yeah, I got excited.
That was pretty fun.
And
Yeah.
when we were promised a wedding, I was not expecting the wedding that we got, but I liked it.
Was anyone else really confused when we got to that? I was like, wait a minute, it's their wedding? Is that what they were planning? Like I had to go back to the very beginning and I was like, oh, okay, they changed their minds halfway through.
Yeah.
Because I was really confused. I did not follow that part at all.
I think we were meant to be confused at first about it until she said, you know, her mom said that they were doing it. And I'm glad that she did that. Cause you know, poor Karen, when she had that reaction, I was thinking, what in the world? Like, why are we like crying about this? But after she said why, like it makes sense, you know?
She's very protective of Hen.
I thought it was sweet that Karen was the one who was so upset over, you know, Hen's mom not coming to their wedding.
Yeah.
And Hen was like, why? I've let it go. You need to let it go too.
I think sometimes it's hard because I mean, I think it's harder, like someone can hurt you and you can forgive them. But like if somebody has hurt somebody you love, I think it's way harder for you to move on past that. So it makes sense, I think.
But it all worked out great in the end. Hopefully Karen and Hen's mom, my gosh, what's her name?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Hen's mom is her name.
Miss
Mom.
When you become a mom, you don't have a name anymore.
It's
So
true.
Aw.
that's what
No, it's true. I get referred to as, yeah, I mean, like my friend, like my kids' friends, their mom's like, we have to stop and be like, wait, what's your name? Like, you're not just so and so's mom. Like, you're
Like, I
a
know you-
person.
I know your mom name, but what's your like legal name?
What's on your birth certificate? Driver's
Exactly.
What's the name on your birth certificate again? But yeah, I love that they were able to do that wedding for them because hopefully that can help mend fences between Hen's mom and Karen because they're both decent people.
Yeah.
Let's all be friends. I mean, speaking of happy endings, let's go into those rescues because I did not think those would be happy endings.
No.
Well, one of them was not a happy ending, but
Hopeful ending.
yeah, those were what, 3 pretty intense rescues. It was one right after the other. Bam, bam, bam. I was like, I can't take this. I was like, what is this episode? I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm terrified.
No, it's like I laughed, I cried, I screamed. Yeah, I mean those rescues were crazy. I mean, like right off the bat, you know, it gets started and you know, you have the incident of this guy falling off the cliff and it seems like he's gone all the way down and you find he's, you know, caught there, which you know is always a very convenient thing to happen when someone falls off a cliff. It's not supposed to die on a TV show, but you know, you're thinking it's not just a regular rescue. It just seems like it's going to start out as a regular rescue until the truck decides to jump off the cliff with everybody else.
That was crazy.
That was insane. I was sitting there like this. I was like, what is happening? Should I close my eyes? Should I keep them open? Like, what?
Yeah.
It was scary. And I think I went like, oh, every time it kind of bounced off the hill.
Yeah, that was
I liked when the
Although-
team got there and everyone was hallucinating.
Because it got to the bottom and it rolled a couple times too. I was like, can they just stop?
but it was like
That
so
was a mess.
good, that Bobby and Lucy were able to like, disconnect themselves and get to safety, because that would have been very, very bad. Of course,
Yeah.
everybody leans over and
And,
that sigh of relief.
and of course, the patient was, the victim was like, that's bad, right? Bobby's like,
bad.
yes, that is bad, pretty bad.
Does that usually seem like a good thing?
How did they say
No,
responders
it's
needed?
like, I don't know. Our fire truck just fell over a cliff. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. It likes to do that.
Yeah, it's just
Oh yeah, that happened last Tuesday. That happens all.
And then y'all, the lady with the extensions, when she goes in there and he like passed out, I was like, what is he seeing? Like, what is wrong? Like, and then I
I thought maybe he stitched it into her skin or something.
yeah,
Noted,
I thought-
and that, obviously not medical stitches would be pretty gross after a couple, but like I
right?
know, yeah.
I was eating dinner while I was watching this episode.
Not a good idea.
Good
And
choice.
I was, and I wanted to throw up. I was like, this was a bad choice. Like,
I hope you weren't eating
why
rice.
it's like, why didn't nobody warn you about this? This is a bad decision.
We should
Yeah.
have like a little code, like don't eat during this episode when someone's seen it before the other person. Like don't eat, just eat.
Like, code green, don't eat.
She was kind of a terrible person though. So I was like, well, I mean, I don't know, karma.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
to say.
think I had a hard time feeling bad for her because
Me too.
she was acting very entitled. I was like, you've got maggots in your hair. You're going to the hospital. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, she was
Oh.
kind of rude. I had a hard time feeling bad for her. I mean, what the hairdresser should not have done what he did.
No.
It's hard times, and yeah, we all get that. But yeah, he definitely made a wrong choice there.
Oh yeah.
Ouch, the mortician too. I mean, to go along with that, it's like, yeah, everybody should have known better in that.
I mean, I've never had hair extensions and I never will after this because like now you're gonna be like, where did this come from? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
If
I
I-
actually wanted some, and now I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, if I was ever planning on having hair extensions, I definitely would not after this episode.
No.
Like 10 years from now, I'll be like, nope, I've seen that episode of 911 a decade ago. I'm not getting hair extensions.
Exactly.
It's like you have it on your phone, like, "Here, let me show you." No, I'm kidding.
One of those that'll stick with us, like all the Final Destination movies. Every time somebody died in one of those they stick with me and I remember them forever and ever. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Still can't drive behind a truck with logs.
Nope, I'll
I
move.
will absolutely, I will stop and pull off on the side of the road if I'm behind one of those trucks and wait till they're gone.
I went to a race one time and all I had flashes of was like the race accident. Yeah, I mean, that's what I see when I see stuff like this. So, yeah,
Extensions are out forever.
forever.
I did not feel bad for this woman when Chim said they would shave her head at the hospital, and she's like, I can't be bald. And then
Like, well, then,
Yeah. it's just like-
yeah, I would have been like, okay, fine, live with the maggots then.
I'll shave my head then. I'm not gonna leave maggots in my, oh, gross, so gross.
Horrible.
But then our other accident, oh my gosh, that one was so sad.
God.
Like,
Yeah,
Terrible.
mhm.
that was horrible. I mean, it was so sweet. And I was actually watching this episode with my mom. So like at the point of impact, like she just gasped, I could just like hear her jump out of her chair. It was just so sad. The
Mhm.
concept of just, she was so vulnerable in that moment, this woman on her way to the hospital and
Yeah.
baby, but it was just such a beautiful scene when they're setting the whole thing up, and it
Mhm.
starts out like, just a regular couple, and yeah, he's a little distracted with work, and you're thinking like,
Sure.
come on, this is a big moment, and
Mhm.
it's just it makes it's so relatable is what it's doing. It's like it's making it, this family that anybody could relate to. And here they're going to this huge moment that's a good moment, and they're packing their bags and
So awful.
car, and they're reaching for each other's hands, and their fingers are interlocking, and they're just ready to go and have this baby. And it's like birds are chirping, and it's just this perfect, beautiful,
I know.
and it's all leading up, it's welling up to this one climactic moment that just ends so tragically. And I just,
It was beautiful though, like watching her like retell him like how they fell in love. I thought that was a really like nice scene just to see it all. And I don't
think
know.
Who
I'm
was it?
hopeful.
Who was it who brought up 50 First Dates? Was that Buck?
it was
I think it was Buck and Maddie were talking about that, about like 50 First Dates. And I can't remember who said what, but one of them thought it was really romantic and one thought it was just.
I'm sure it was Buck that thought it was romantic. Don't you think?
That sounds most likely. I feel like Maddie just constantly has like a cloud of doom hanging over her head.
She's got a more probably realistic view than like Buck with his head in the clouds and just thinking it would be romantic to fall in love
She
again
was
every
also a
day.
nurse, right? So
she was a nurse, and she was also the one who pretty much protected Buck from the entire world for most of his life. So I guess it makes sense. Do we want to talk about the final scene? Because I had a smile on and my face hurt because I was smiling so big. I was like, this is so fantastic. And then I said, wait, I still have what's sure to be a horrible episode of Lone Star to watch after this.
Well,
but
so
I'm
funny
smiling.
It was ending and I was thinking, oh, I mean, what's going to happen with Eddie? Like, this is popping in my head. Like, we didn't, is he not going back? I thought for sure he was going to. And then they just showed him and I was like, all is right with the world again. Eddie is back.
Yes.
At the firehouse. So.
Yeah, he just slid down that fire pole and I was like, oh, all is right with the world.
Just seeing them all, walking out. It was like Avengers Assemble moment or something. Just kind of like coming together. It was perfect. Like, I think was it slow motion or did I just do that in my head? It was slow motion, right?
I think it was a little slow motion. There was at least music like playing behind them and like it was like a moment. Tiffany, you look so confused.
I might have missed this because I don't remember this at all.
It only lasted 5 seconds.
You need to go back and watch because it made me so freaking happy.
It's just like they all get back to the fire.
When you guys were talking about Eddie, I'm like,
it was like the last. I mean, it's like the last scene. Like
it was maybe the last.
I must not have watched that.
It was the last 2 to 3 minutes, maybe.
Well, it was a whole montage, but the montage ended with them that scene. That visual, which would have been a perfect. It's not a perfect ending because we want many, many more seasons of 911. But they were prepping themselves that if the worst case scenario had happened, we would have been left with that amazing image of them, one big family, walking out, of the firehouse to go save the world. But I think they're probably going to touch a little bit on, I mean, obviously Eddie's back. We get to see him back, but he was working the Twitter account and then suddenly he's coming with the whole team, walking towards the fire truck, getting ready to go out on a call. So I'm sure they're probably going to backtrack a little bit and just kind of show how that played out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was okay with it, but if it weren't such a magnificent scene, I would have been, wait a minute, what do we miss? Well,
and if you weren't looking, because it's not like there were any words with it, if you weren't looking at the screen, you would have missed that Eddie was part of the crew. Like no one said anything. So that may have been, if you had like looked away, Tiffany, you probably just missed that he was there.
Yeah, it was such a happy ending. And I get that they had to do it that way because they couldn't leave us off on a cliffhanger, on like a huge cliffhanger. But at the same time, I was like, they're going to have to unravel a few things in order to keep the story rolling along.
Absolutely.
So that part kind of makes me a little nervous also. I mean, I guess we can see the fallout between Taylor and Buck, but I don't know if there will be one. They were both pretty mature about it. So
they're separate ways.
I still think we've got, I think Buck and Lucy will be something. It may not happen right away, but I still think they will be something eventually.
I do too.
The possibilities are endless at this point. Anything can happen.
I think Albert should take over Eddie's Twitter job.
Oh, that would be so good.
Oh, can he please? That would be fabulous.
That would be so.
I would like that.
I think he would be perfect at that, actually.
Yeah.
Really outgoing, so it'd be easy to like kind of translate that into the Twitter feed and
Mhm.
everything interactive and social that he would have to be because he's got to put this information out on Twitter,
Yeah.
not just
I would
Good.
I would love to see him hanging out at the call center.
Mhm.
every time we get to see the call center, we get to see Albert.
That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Next season. So excited. Is it
We'll
fall?
see, right? All right. Well, let's talk about Lone Star now.
Woo.
This episode, it was called A Bright and Cloudless Morning.
Ouch.
And
I
it
was
picks up
Boy,
right
was
where
it.
we left off. My poor baby Judd is like in peril in this exploding building. So
Poor Wyatt.
I know.
He was so distraught. I was like, somebody help this poor boy.
Yes. And like hug him, like tell him it's okay, like take care of him here. But
I mean, it was so scary for him and he was so disoriented. But then, I mean, to see what happened, for him to witness it, and he didn't know that Jed was okay. So
yeah.
many things had to be going through his mind in that moment.
Well, and I thought it was funny, like we see Judd like go in there to talk to like this boss, which I'm like, why do we even want to work for this guy? Because I wouldn't want to work for him, but whatever. And he's just kind of so rude to Judd. And then Judd saves your all's butt.
That was
I mean, like, it is so
Because that is just who Judd is. He will save your butt
Yeah.
even if you probably don't deserve it.
right.
Yep.
And of course it worked out because what did he say? Something about like, and he's like, yeah, if you get us out of here, like he's got the job and he's already been promoted twice. And I was like, that's right, of course.
I loved how relieved Wyatt was when he got on the phone with Grace. I just thought that was so sweet.
Mhm.
I love
And good job on Grace. I mean, she just heard the word Wyatt. Like I mean, we're in Texas. There has to be, I would assume, quite a few Wyatts. I know it's a common name around here. I don't know. But I mean, she just knew that had to be him on the other line and she jumped right into action.
I guess you hear your kid's name because, I feel like he's partly hers also. But it's like you hear your kid's name and I'm sure you kind of just go into panic mode and except that's not Grace's style. She does not do panic mode.
Yeah. Well, she does when Judd's involved though.
That is
She does when Judd's involved. When she found out that he was alive, she was good. But I think my favorite line of the entire episode was when Grace called him and then he was like, it's okay, it's 911. Wait, 911 called him? I'm with that.
I'm with that guy. Like 911 called him. Like that was perfect. That whole scene was very satisfying. Like you said, I mean, obviously it wasn't going well before the building collapsed, and that was obviously not a good thing to happen. But yeah,
I mean, I would have stuck with him prior to that phone call when he said, I'm 20 years a firefighter. I'm like, 20 years a firefighter, I'm on your team.
yeah.
Exactly.
Broken leg or not, I'm still following that guy.
You
It's
tell
like,
me what to do and I'll do it.
I have no idea what I'm doing, so what do I have to lose?
Yeah, it's like everybody would have died of, smoke already, and I'm glad that they realized that. It's like, okay, let's go with this guy now. And
they all, I mean, they worked together as a team once they started like figuring this out. Like, I mean, they changed quite a bit. Even the jerk boss, I feel like he kind of really came around once he had to like.
he got better perspective on it. It was sad that it literally took a building falling on him for him to get better perspective. But yeah. Everybody
Just for some sweet revenge, I would love to see Wyatt say no thanks to the job.
Well, you know what I was kind of excited about, because I think the character of Wyatt and the whole dynamic of him with the family is really cool. The fact that, okay, he's graduated high school and now he has a reason to live in Austin with Grace and Judd. I think that maybe that storyline, I'm hoping, is to write him in as a regular, because he's going to be living there with them and he's going to be living in Austin and going, to this job.
Yeah.
I thought that was like pretty cool. The drama of getting it started, but like now you have next season where you have a whole new character that you can add. And I'm wondering if we're not going to see May as often because she's supposed to be away at college, so maybe he's going to take the equivalent of, child that just graduated high school, reaching out to the world, starting their job career. But while it looks like, Wyatt and Judd and Grace are looking to the future, Owen kind of spent some time thinking about the past. And this is when I finally realized the title of the episode was, a clear and cloudless morning, it hit me what it meant, and
Yeah.
it hit much deeper.
I was super excited to see Gwen.
Me too.
That was
I
exciting.
was
I mean, I
I
thought for
was-
sure we were never going to see her again.
I went from very excited to then very confused because I'm like, yay, it's Gwen. Wait, what's happening?
Yeah, I was a bit confused too. I'm like, wait, why is she there? Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Like, wait,
You just see them laying in bed. I'm like, huh?
The whole side story with Owen was very confusing to me at first. Like once I realized what was going on, I got it, but it felt really weird and confusing at first.
I figured they were going to do some sort of 9/11 connection, and because this season, it 2021 obviously was the 20th anniversary, so it was the coinciding season, even though it was technically 22 when it aired. But I think it's the closest to that. With Owen's past, you knew it was going to be some sort of 9/11, especially, once you realize what that, flashback was. And then they showed the close-up of, the South Tower on his desk.
Yeah.
And the fact that when the building fell, was it Marjan said, like, have you ever seen anything like this? So,
Yeah.
yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that scene, I was like, oh gosh, did she realize what she just said? Yeah. Yeah. He's seen that. Sad.
And that's what caused his cancer. And I know that he was having a hard time dealing with it, similar to like how Bobby was dealing, with the guilt that he's carried with him for, all the things that have happened to him.
Yeah.
Owen's kind of carrying that too, because he was the only one that made it out. And so he's having survivor's guilt, over the past 2 decades. And he made a comment before he went into remission that he was thinking like he was relieved. He was finally going to be able to perish in the towers like the others were. Like he was thinking like that was right. So now he's having this cancer scare while he's having to deal with a building that fell on him, which is how he got the cancer in the first place. I think it just all was becoming so real.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I was really scared when they found that mass in his lung. I'm like, oh no, it's back.
No. I was like, please don't do this again.
Yeah.
And then he was in the building when it started, there was another explosion again. I'm like, are y'all just really trying to kill Owen in this episode? What is going on?
I feel like they were trying to kill me.
Right? They kind of hinted at the commercial, like they were going to try to kill off Owen, and then you're like, but that's not really going to happen. But you're watching the episode like, that's not really going to happen, right? It's like you're throwing everything at him.
That is not going to happen.
Right. It's like, I'm telling you, dogs.
Those jerks were like, okay, we're going to give them a beautiful ending, but first we need to put our audience like through it. Like we gotta put them through all the emotions before we can get to the happy ending. It's like, no, we don't need that.
It's a lot.
I know.
Even that guy that was like buried down there, and then that confused me like a lot for like a second. I was like, what?
That was the part that got me. I was like, he was like, because I died.
And I was like, what?
I didn't survive. I was like, wait, what? What? Then why are you talking?
Yeah.
It's like often talk.
Like,
Now you
like if you're dead and you're talking, I'm watching the wrong kind of show here.
Right, like I thought this was 911.
Like I didn't realize this was, I don't know, zombies or
It's like night Shaun of the Dead or something. But yeah, that was like super sentimental and kind of like really emotional. And I'm thinking like, yeah, obviously there was like some really good resolution when that first started. I think the first couple of seconds into it, I thought it was, present day, but I don't know why. I just kind of kept thinking like, this is a flashback. And of course he still has his, 126 hat on. But I was watching it again with my parents, and my dad said, oh, he's having a flashback. And when he said, oh, did you hear about the second one? And it was so convenient, that, oh, I can't get my radio and you can't see his badge. And only, I think, for a split second, because I was thinking, wait a minute, they already got the security guard out. He's a second security guard. There's more than one. It's a big building. But then I was like, wait a minute. they already got the security guard out. So this is
Yeah.
not the security guard. And I think that's what kind of gave it away. The fact that it was, he had a badge and a suit, and it was, it was kind of sad, but
It was definitely sad. Yeah, I agree.
what it was confirmed when he said, because I died. But I think it was resolution, like the resolution, it was so hopeful. It ended kind of very hopeful, because he was able to tell Owen, like, let this go. You don't have to live in this day. And I think there's so many people, a lot of people like have moved on, even as he said too, because it's so long. People don't remember because they were infants, they were taught.
Yeah.
But I think it was like really sweet to have Owen not only have that moment, but just kind of like, hey, everybody who just not celebrated, but commemorated,
Yeah.
the 20th anniversary. It's like you can you can celebrate the lives of the people that you knew in that event, but you can move on. Made you
And
cry.
then we saw Gwen again in the hospital, which was just, I was like, oh my gosh, here, like what did she say something funny, or he said something? I feel like there was like a funny moment there, which now that I'm saying this, I shouldn't have brought
they
it up
had
because I don't remember what it was.
They had the 126 standing around him, like, and they were all like giving like platitudes, like, you gave us a scare there. We're glad you're okay. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a beautiful moment. And then they kind of like vanished. And then there's Gwen. And I'm like, oh, it's another, I don't want to say hallucination, but it's another.
Yeah. I think a hallucination. I think that's kind of what was happening for him,
like,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's another hallucination. But yay, there's Gwen again.
We get Gwen.
Yeah, I was confused at this part too, because they flashed to the hospital, everyone standing around him, and then there was Gwen again, and then they flashed back to him being in the building. I'm like, wait, is he in the hospital or not? What's going on?
Oh yeah, because you think they get him out, he's alive. We realize
that was really confusing for a little while there.
It was like when they wake up from a dream and then they wake up from a dream a second time. It's like, whoa. But they had to give that incredible montage, which I thought was so sentimental as well. Like the perfect way to come out of that scene and that conversation that he had, and it would jump back and forth because he's pulled out of the building the same way he was on 9/11. And he has these people around him, his family around him, the people that he loves the most. And back on 9/11, that same camaraderie was there between them, even though they were perfect strangers. They all felt the same way about each other as the 126 does. So it was just perfect. It was like so much resolution, like it was like rebirth. It's like he was being born again. He was being pulled out of the rubble the first time, and it created all this baggage. But now he's being pulled out of the rubble emotionally, obviously physically too, because they're pulling him out of this building in Austin. But it was just a really cool way of like, here's his family pulling him out of the rubble, and he can start to heal, and always, commemorate and remember those that perish, but like he can start to heal and he can start to move forward. And that was so cool. I'm glad we got that montage instead of just like waking up in the hospital.
And then
he doesn't have cancer, it's just a fungal infection,
right? And so like we can definitely move forward, and that, I love that. I like what he told Tommy at first, and he's like, it's a fungal infection. And she at first, I think she was really confused. I'm like, what are we saying here? And then she celebrated.
I love how she said congratulations on your fungal infection, because I was still like, okay, I don't understand what this means, someone explain it to me.
I enjoyed her comment when they were talking about how busy they've been. She said, yeah, you've been real buried in your work.
I loved it.
Because he totally got that joke. Like you tell he sincerely appreciated it.
I like their friendship.
That's a good one.
That's good. Yeah.
It kind of seemed like, maybe they were kind of hinting at something for next season. I mean, obviously, I love the character of Catherine. I mean, it's been amazing having Amy Acker on the show, and I hope that's not over with. But it seems like maybe they were starting the storyline of maybe more than friends, like maybe.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was an episode earlier this season where I got just a little bit of like a chemistry, like a vibe going on between the two of them. And then it kind of got dropped and they brought in Catherine and they had the whole thing with Julian and Tommy. Yes. So maybe we are going to go back to that. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what I think right now, but they definitely have a fun banter. So I think it could be if they explored it. I don't know. Tiffany's thinking really hard on whether
I
she
am.
thinks that-
Tiffany's got her
Wow.
thinking face on. I feel like right now she looks exactly like that thinking emoji. The-
I don't see it. Not the emoji. That's happening and
I
doing.
think it was, yeah, I mean, but I can't remember what episode. I think it was the baseball episode, maybe, where I felt like they had really good banter, the softball episode. And I think I even said, like, were we like trying to do like a chemistry test here on whether they could like have something, but then it went away. So
They all moved on.
mhm.
I really love Catherine though, so
I do too.
now
And
I'm super
so,
confused.
She sent him a note when she was in the hospital.
yeah,
I did see
and I
a note
love
from her.
Julian too. So my preferred result would be both of those come back, and that happens. But I don't know.
Guys, we had the ultimate Tarlos this week.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I was so excited.
I was so happy.
I
But
cheered. Like David looked at me so weird. He was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "They got
you
engaged."
don't even understand.
So happy.
Yeah, I love how it started off with him telling everyone, it's like, there he is, in his glasses, like looking all serious, cool as a cucumber. And then I think it was Nancy who said, oh, so his natural resting state.
Yeah.
And then got to talking about wills. And I'm sitting there thinking, is it not normal for someone who works, in the kind of job that these people work in and not have a will? Like I was surprised that he didn't have one.
I was too. I mean, his age and being in good health in a different career with no kids, I can completely understand not.
Yeah,
having one.
I'm a kindergarten teacher with no children and in
Fairly
decent health.
safe, right?
I mean, naturally, so it makes sense that I don't have one, but I'm like, he's been through it in that job. So I'm surprised that he didn't think until just this episode that he should have a will.
They even joked about that. They're like, you of all people, TK, should be thinking about this because you've almost died like lots of times and just what are we on the third season? I mean,
even this season alone, he's almost died like 5 times.
Right.
And he looked really confused by that comment too. I'm like, what are you confused about? You've almost died like 10 times in 3 years. That's not normal, TK.
no.
Maybe thinking he's invincible now. Like it's death's never coming for him. I don't know.
He's like, death knocked on my door 10 times. I guess I'm invincible. I don't need a will.
Not coming back. Oh.
But then, I mean, all of this crazy stuff going on, it makes him decide that he wants to spend his life with Carlos. And I love when he wakes him up and Carlos is like kind of startled. He's like, relax. And he said, I was relaxing.
I laughed so hard because I was like, that would 100% be my response.
Yeah.
If someone woke me up from a deep sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, relax, I'm like, gosh darn it, I was relaxed and then you woke me up.
I'm going to say this, okay? I mean, I am romantic. I totally am. Waking me up in the middle of the night to propose to me may not get you the answer that you're hoping for. Because
you might get the yes if I think that is the answer that will let me go to sleep.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I feel like I'm gonna say some mean things to you until you
like,
go
don't
away.
count on me remembering the proposal in the morning.
Wake up with a ring on your finger, like, oh my god, did I get engaged? Like, what? I thought that was a
Like, oh
dream.
crap, what did I do?
I shouldn't have had that, Chinese right before bed.
Oh, but it worked.
Waking up in Vegas with a ring on your finger. Uh-oh.
Right? What did I
I
do?
wasn't there yesterday. No, this is not, it hasn't happened to me. This is not even
Well, for a second there, I was
personal.
like, wait, are we speaking from experience?
You were quoting that country song. Oh, but then of course, they have that party, which everybody's thinking is, just another, game night,
Mm-hmm.
which they quickly discover is not when they just see the spread. I mean, they should have known that was going to tip it off,
champagne
and all the fancy food and not just.
They didn't even let them get like
I
a
just
word
love how
in.
aggressively more annoyed Carlos and TK were getting with the more comments they made. I was like, guys, be quiet and let them make their special announcement. Let them have their moment. They
I
have
was
us
so happy.
prepared.
It did give us like the ultimate Mateo moment though. Like that was like classic
Oh,
Mateo.
oh,
Everybody else got it but him.
and he's just sitting there smiling and like munching along. He's like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "Oh, honey,
No glue. It was
you
perfect.
poor innocent, sweet little boy."
I know. Like, here's your juice box. Let's explain this to you. Oh, it was a perfect Mateo moment though.
And that whole, I mean, I don't know, perfect way to end this season. Although I have to say on this one, like, yes, we all tied it up in a nice little bow, but if you had ended the season without, or ended the show without me getting a Tarlos wedding, I would have been livid.
Rioted. I was thinking, like, worst case scenario, if they cancel any of our shows, like whether it's OG 911 or Lone Star or any of them, like we should totally like get the band together and like make a petition and okay, like we got it the next season. Okay, we don't have to. Good, we're good. Like okay, thank you.
Oh, I was on board with that. I was like, I'm going to have to make a petition if this, like, before we got news of it being renewed, I was like, I'm going to have to petition if this series ends and Carlos and TK are not married.
Yeah, it needs to happen for sure. So we think we'll see that next season. What are your all's predictions? I think we'll definitely get a wedding.
I have a feeling we may be spending not the whole season, but maybe part of the season at least, like leading up to the wedding.
Yeah.
I hope we
it'll
don't
be-
cold feet. So
Yeah, I think
everybody warm those feet up and just stay on track, get married.
Put
Let
some
us
socks on. Let's
Well-
like no cold feet, please.
Let us all live happily ever after.
Like I need like let's not. Of course, I say this all the time. Like I don't want them to mess with Carlos or TK this season. They've been through enough. But now after this Judd scare, I'm like, well, let's not mess with him either. So I'm not really sure who we can.
Let's bring in new people and then they can just mess with the new people. Leave our-
Unless
I'd
we
like to
love
see
them.
Marjan and Paul find someone.
I know,
Yeah.
me too. That would be
need-
nice.
I need Paul to find love. He hasn't really had any love interests.
And Marjan
No.
really, she had that one person that she was
Yeah.
like engaged to or whatever, but that wasn't even really.
it was like an arranged wedding or something.
Yeah.
It was it was really one-sided because I think he was in love with her, but she was just, no, it's arranged. It's an arranged marriage. And I was like, honey, he's in love with you.
Yeah.
Hey, did anybody notice that was Aladdin from the live action Aladdin movie?
Was it?
Yeah, it was Aladdin. I was like,
Now
you
that
brought
you
him up.
mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, that was
it
Aladdin.
was Aladdin.
Yeah.
I love
The
him.
Disney prince, you know? It's like,
Right? And Aladdin, he's like one of the best Disney princes too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
She turned down Disney
Disney
Prince. I don't think there's any hope for Marjan if she turned down.
Too funny.
She had her chance. It's gone now.
Yep. I think that covers it. So now we just gotta wait for months here to see what happens. But in the meantime, you guys should come check out our Facebook group. We do lots of fun stuff, and I'm sure we'll have lots of fun discussions over the summer. It is 911 Family Fan Club. So definitely come check us out, and then check us out on all of our other social medias. And I'm trying to think what we have. We have the This Is Us finale coming up for everybody, and then we've still got the Grey's Anatomy season finale that'll be coming up. So those, make sure to check those out, and then we'll be jumping into a bunch of our old shows so we can dive into our favorite characters, favorite episodes, favorite storylines, all that fun stuff, just to help pass the time till our other shows are back. But
Yeah, let us know if you have any suggestions or what you want to hear.
absolutely. Yeah, if there's anything you think you want us to do, send us an email, and then let us know, and we'd be glad to do it for you. So
We're always
bye,
looking
everybody.
for ideas.
Bye.
Bye.
For our listeners craving more, you can search for all 16 of our groups on Facebook by searching Family Fan Club. Come on over and join the conversation. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok under Fandom Family Chats. We try to always make sure to have something that will entertain. Of course, we'd also love your feedback, the good and any bad. And you can provide that by emailing us at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our website coming soon, where you'll be able to buy FFC merch and merch about some of your favorite TV shows with some favorite sayings and images. We're also working toward hosting a Comic-Con style event in 2024 where some of your favorite fandoms, cast, crew, and fans alike will come together for a fun-filled weekend. You can find those announcements on our website, coming at you soon. Keep watching and listening, and as always, don't forget to share and subscribe.